Hello, YouTube. I'm just going to sit here and give a little intro as into what I'm doing while we're waiting to see if some folks come on. This is not a good time for Eastern Standard Time in North or South America because we are right smack dab in the middle of lunchtime. And uh, So it's not a good time. So I'm going to give a little intro. I'm going to talk about Muhammad Ali and Cleveland Williams and a little bit about Cleveland Williams. I shouldn't really have to say much about Muhammad Ali because Muhammad Ali is among the boxing world and the world in general. Folks should know a whole lot about him. But I am going to talk more about Cleveland Williams. And Cleveland Williams was a great fighter. Uh, he had wins over some notable folks. He fought everybody that they put in front of him, even when he was not in good condition to actually fight. And did well, had a great career. I don't have his stats sitting in front of me, so I'm just going to go off of uh, off of memory here. So I'm not going to be able to give you a lot of statistics about it. But Muhammad Ali, in his greatness, and we know how great he was, there were some great fighters that Muhammad Ali beat whom were not in their prime. Uh, so I am going to talk about Muhammad Ali some. Muhammad Ali came in and ushered in a new era and a new uh, stylistic type of fighting that was quicker with more footwork that people in the boxing world had seen before, but uh, it gets lost in history and propagandized a little bit that nobody had done this thing or that thing until Cassius Clay, who later became Muhammad Ali, came along. So um, Ali was a great fighter. He was a boxer. We used to differentiate those terms. When I was a little boy, a boxer was more of the athletic type, and a fighter was more of a slugger. But of course, they were both boxers. But Cleveland Williams is something special, and we put a video up. I suggest everybody go watch it. Cleveland Williams, the man who would have beat Ali, because he would have beaten Muhammad Ali. No two ways about that. Those of us who were living at the time, we knew that. We knew that Cleveland Williams would have beat Ali. Now, we're going to talk about some things that some people aren't going to like, but it's going to be truth telling here. And I want to reiterate with everyone I am not trying to bash Muhammad Ali or his memory. He did a lot of great things, and he was a great boxer. Uh, I just happen to believe, coming from an older school of thought, uh, that Joe Louis is the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. That's my thoughts, and it's a lot of people's thoughts. Uh, People that never really saw both of them live or in action while their fights were going on. Uh, even a lot of those people would pick Joe Louis as the greatest. People that didn't get to see them. I did not get to see Joe Louis, so I'm one of those. But I did get to see Muhammad Ali pretty much from the very start up to the very finish. And Ali was a great fighter, but that Cleveland Williams, and before you discount what I'm saying, just hear me out. Cleveland Williams, if you go back and you look at the tape or the footage on him, when he was in his prime and he was clicking on all his cylinders, which as a younger boxer he was clicking on all cylinders. But this guy was not only a boxer, he was a fighter. And there's been very rare occasions that we ever see that. To put it into perspectives today, I myself would call Deontay Wilder, in today's perspective, for those of you that may be younger, we would have labeled back in the 60s and 70s someone like Deontay Wilder a fighter, and we would have called someone like Tyson Fury a boxer. Now, that's not saying that a boxer doesn't knock folks out. So it's just a digger deepened guy that is known for his knockout capabilities. And we called those fighters back in the day. We also called them sluggers, and they still do. A lot of these terms are a little different, but uh, a lot of them are yet the same. So, but this Cleveland Williams, you go back and you look at him. He did lose twice to Sonny Liston. Uh, Probably one of the greatest 4 or 5 heavyweights of all time, even though his tenure was very short. Liston was great also. And Liston was great because before he even got a shot at the championship, he fought all top 10 guys, went back, fought all top 10 guys, and went back and did it again. So about 3 times in a row, he fought everybody at the different times that were in the top 10, which is kind of remarkable. You'll never see that today. But there was another guy that did that. Muhammad Ali did not do that. And we're going to talk about that process, and we're going to talk about the Dundees, and we're going to talk about organized crime in boxing. Uh, but Cleveland Williams went through the top 10 and turned around and was doing it again. Cleveland Williams was picked to by the Dundee team. And interesting to note, in a lot of uh, the young Cassius Clay's fights, Dundee was not only Angelo Dundee was not only Muhammad Ali's manager, but his brother, Angelo Dundee's brother, was the corrupt boxing promoter. And that's where all the fuddy duddy that never gets mentioned, and none of the news programs or biographies about Sonny Liston, this stuff never ever gets mentioned. Uh, that the Dundees were accused of a lot of corruption over the years, and there was a lot of fishy stuff that went on, especially in that second Liston fight. But back on point here to Cleveland Williams. Excuse me. Cleveland Williams was fast, boy. Ooh, oh my gosh. This guy was fast like Ali. Uh, I say Ali because a lot of Williams's stuff I didn't get to see while it happened. But I saw Ali while he was happening. Cleveland was just a little wee bit before my time and wasn't on the TV that we were watching. And but Cleveland Williams, woo, you go back and you watch this guy, super fast. But not only was he fast like Muhammad Ali, Didn't have the footwork, didn't dance around the ring like Ali did, but he could let those fists go super fast, maybe even faster than Muhammad Ali. And one thing about Cleveland Williams is he hit you. He hit you. Muhammad Ali was never known as a knockout artist. As a matter of fact, the knockouts, other than the fuddy duddy knockout, you hear our German Shepherd crying. He wants me to be staring at him instead of the screen. But you, other than the phantom punch, which it was a phantom punch, where Ali knocked Liston out in that second fight. Um, Ali had no just crushing knockouts. Now he wore Foreman down, then knocked him out, and that's what Ali would do to you. He would wear someone down, then knock them out, and that was his thing. And boy, he was special at it too, wasn't he? You know. And if you're younger and you're watching this and you hadn't really seen, honey, Carmen, shut this door, please. So, thank you. I'm getting the door shut because the dog's crying. He just wants all my attention. Uh, but Muhammad Ali, he would just wear you down. And this kid, Cleveland Williams, would would knock you senseless. He was a puncher. He was a hitter. He's what you'd call today a slugger. And this guy hit probably harder than Deontay Wilder's right. So you just have to go back and look at Cleveland Williams to see what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, the Cleveland Williams that we all tend to see isn't a not that Cleveland Williams was so old at the time that Ali fought him, but Cleveland Williams was somewhere in Texas. A patrolman stopped him, and he was drinking, and he got in a fight with the patrolman, and the patrolman shot him. And Cleveland Williams had one of his kidneys removed and a portion of his liver removed, and he wasn't really fully recuperated from all of that. And but then got a shot at that title, and the guy that was managing him, which was a damn crook in himself, an old Texas uh, charlatan, uh, got that fight set up, and Ali took it at that time because he knew he could beat him, and they had the fight, and Ali totally demolished him, and we would have been looking at something different, and I will guarantee you what we would be looking at. We would have been looking at Team Dundee avoiding Cleveland Williams had the incident not happened where the cop shot Cleveland Williams. That's what we would have been looking at. I believe that the Ali would have went right on and fought Patterson right after the second Sonny Liston fight, which he did. Uh, Might have been Ali's third title defense when he fought the big cat, Cleveland Williams. I'm committing all this to memory, so I may be a little loose on some of this. Uh, but had Cleveland not been shot, Dundee would have said we're steering clear of this guy. Not unlike Cus D'Amato trying to steer clear, and quite so successfully for quite a few years, Floyd Patterson from Sonny Liston. Dundee would have said steer clear. So now, do I believe that there was any corruption in the Williams Ali fight? No, I do not. Ali beat him under gentleman's terms uh, and good sportsmanship. Ali won that fight. Uh, but that fight shouldn't have taken place at that time. Uh, Cleveland Williams, we now know it wouldn't have turned out that he would have gotten healthy enough to continue fighting. We know that by the record that Cleveland Williams had after he got shot. See, uh, but Cleveland Williams would have demolished Muhammad Ali. I'm not even sure it would have been a contest. And I'm always telling you guys, styles make fights. Uh, there are going to be some younger guys coming around that aren't going to stick to be one dimensional in style, uh, like is the norm and has been the norm the past 25, 30 years. You're going to see guys mid drift in a knockdown drag out fight completely changing up their style. And those whom are not working on these things right now, they are going to be the fighters that are left behind. That's coming. I guarantee you that. I know that factually. I know what a lot of teams, younger teams, are working on. I watch younger teams quite religiously. I love watching the young boxers. I will continue to do so. It's my passion is helping young people, and I've went full force in it now that I'm not out here in the working world anymore, and I do the best I can. A lot of you know, and some of you may not know, I have Parkinson's disease. I've got some physical issues, but I keep going and stabbing at it every day. Uh, I hear a lot of folks say, "Well, you look like you was in real good shape. Why don't you consider getting back in shape?" But I'm very, very limited in what I can do. But what I can do, I do. Uh, but go back and look at Cleveland Williams. He was very, very, oh, my main man, the guy that knows more about boxing than his one atom of his fingernail and can uh, dissect a fight better than anybody I know. And I hope Joe does good enough that he's dissecting Joe's opponents at some point in time. How you doing, man? It's the Boxing Scholar, folks, and anybody that comes on here. No, we ain't got live viewers. Have just started doing lives, but please go to the Boxing Scholar, DA, the Boxing Scholar. If and when you see this video, because this is a good guy. This is a good guy, and he's got it up here. He's got it right here. Uh, and if you're a betting man, go watch him because if the next big fight that goes on, he does little bits and pieces of dissection, and these fights go pretty much as he say there's going to go, as he says they're going to go. Uh, he says it's not rocket science sometimes, but I believe he's kind of a rocket scientist myself. You're very welcome to Boxing Scholar. So we were just talking about my belief that Cleveland Williams, now I will say he could have beat Muhammad Ali with Muhammad Ali in his prime. Uh, but I believe he's the only guy that could have beat Muhammad Ali in his prime. And I believe that had he not got shot, I was just saying that I believe that the Dundees would have steered clear over here. And Muhammad Ali was a great, great guy. I've been a little scathing on Ali about some things that happened in the past, but I have seen people I've seen a couple of awful books that I would stake my life on about Muhammad Ali that are not true. And we all need to pound on these people and I did a video the other day. I will not repeat the ugly vow things that they said about Muhammad Ali. It ain't happening here. I will not do it. And it forced me over to the Ali camp, to be honest with you. I just don't like hearing bad things. There's some things that, maybe you can say, well, I don't like this fighter because of his political views or his style of fighting, or he talks too much. There's a million and one things we can get into, but the the things that I seen out of these, I assume, were a couple of more recent books on Muhammad Ali. I think that it took sick authors to write these books, and shame on them. Shame, shame, shame. Because Muhammad Ali was a decent man. He was not a perfect man, but he was a decent man. And he would never do some of the things uh, that they said about him. Never. Not in a million years. So I will not even repeat it. Uh, my blood pressure is going up right now. Uh, I want to ask the boxing scholar, while I have his ear, if he believes that had Teofilo Stevenson turned pro and they had brought some good, very good professional trainers in for him, had they given him a huge amount of time to prepare for, uh, does he think he would have held a stick against Muhammad Ali? I personally used to think that he would, and possibly he could beat him, but no, when anything's possible. And I love Stevenson. I think Stevenson was the greatest amateur heavyweight of all time, but he was a man fighting boys. And, I've had people. Uh, I think he would have been a great heavyweight too. I really do. Uh, Now beating Ali, I I don't. Well, Stevenson was a little younger, so maybe had he come in and got a boatload of fights and a lot of experience, maybe he could have took Ali as Ali was slowing down. But it really would have been interesting, wouldn't it? I think that would have been a very interesting fight. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Uh, and you know what? Another thing about Ali that you just mentioned, boxing scholar, his durability. And that really gets left out of the mix uh, in popular media. You know, I don't think that gets talked about enough. Uh, you'd have, well, look at how Larry Holmes fought uh, a very old and really a very sick Muhammad Ali, and pounded and pounded and pounded. And Larry, although he's not a wasn't known as a slugger, he just knocked a few people out in his day as well. And I love Larry Holmes. I love Larry, but uh, Ali would have been carried out in a box from there. He would have kept going, and there was no give in Ali. I'm thoroughly convinced he had the greatest heart out of anybody in boxing. Of course, you can't measure that with a stick, but wow. So when people call him the greatest, although I believe Joe Louis was the greatest, uh, you can't argue with anybody that places Muhammad Ali as their number one boxer. But I would have loved to have seen a trilogy with a good, healthy Cleveland Williams and a prime Ali. Boy, I think that would have been the thing of the century. I don't think I think everything would have been laid to waste if we had got to see that. And of course, I could be wrong, but oh boy, that would have been the fight I would have loved to see. Let's see here. Yeah, I agree. The style that gave him the trouble was the style that where people wasn't trying to chase him down. Exactly. And now I didn't know that. That's the first time I've heard of that where Witherspoon is claiming that he threw the fight with Bone Crusher. I've met Bone Crusher, and I'm a North Carolina boy, and I met Bone Crusher. Uh, uh, he was at. I didn't meet him at the university, but I'm trying to remember the university he went to. I met him at uh, the. I went to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro and took some classes at the Black University there in Greensboro, A&T State University, and he was going to another college, and I can't remember. I think uh, it was a college in Wake County in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he had came up to sit in a class that I was in, and I thought to myself, "Good Lord, gosh, this man, he was big." He was big and nice and biggest country boy you ever met in your life. Biggest country boy. But it's just, I have a hard time to believe uh, that, that happened. I mean, there's better ways to throw a fight, I would think, than that kind of ass whooping. I don't know. May just be me, but Joe's went back and forth, and he talks to Joe himself. My son Joe. Uh, he uh, is very fortunate. I'm going to go ahead and mention this. Anybody that comes back and watches it, they'll know. Uh, Joe talks to Riddick Bowe, in private messages back and forth with these guys, like they're all little kids going back and forth with one another. I come out, I'm like, damn, I'm shocked. What the hell? Riddick Bowe, Tim Witherspoon, and Bobby Quarry. And Bobby Quarry's really been real good with him too. And that's for people, if you watch this and you don't know who he is, he's uh, Jerry Quarry's little brother. So, uh, and I'm not sure if he was the younger brother. Yeah, he was the younger brother. He was the younger brother. And this is you know, one of them died, and I think another one recently died, and I think maybe this one's the only one alive, and I believe it's Bobby. Joe could tell you. He comes walking in here. I'll ask him because they just go right back and forth like they've known each other. All these guys. It's just simply amazing to me how he gets to correspond with all these people I wished I could correspond with. Uh, and another guy I knew, uh, real hard for me to say in an online venue. I'll put it to you this way. Uh, the man was a mentor to me, uh, mentored me, and counseled me for almost 30 years, and that was Ernie Shavers. And I love Ernie. Ernie was such a great guy. He was really good to me. Ernie was very good to me. he was good to me when I didn't deserve to be treated good. I always love Ernie. And I'm very glad that before Ernie passed, Joe had just started learning to box, maybe about 2 or 3, 4 months. And Ernie looked at Joe for me and he said, "Boy, for a baby boy, this guy can hit." He had nothing but positive to say, and we really appreciated that. But Ernie wouldn't have said nothing negative anyway. I think Ernie would have said something if he thought that Joe was just terrible or something, but he probably would have told me, keep him in school, which he said anyway. But uh, yeah, and that's our sport. The fighters are reachable. There's a lot of love going on with these people, a lot of love. So I don't want to see boxing stop. I really don't. And boxing scholar, I would like for maybe the next thing you do, maybe I can try to get get on and come on with you at some point. Uh, but I would like your views on what boxing needs to do. What needs to happen to uh, actually get the sport back into the limelight of yesteryear? Because I just have a feeling that with all the things that are going on and people getting political on one side or the other and getting mad at teams and things like that, I think boxing could really, really, with some proper guys at the helm and some proper type of leadership, uh, minusing the greed out just a hair out of these guys, getting them to minus the greed out just a tad enough to give that little push that boxing would need to be really as grandiose as it used to be. And really, I have no idea why. Uh, I think so too. There are so many uh, snakes in the amateurs that are just literally killing these guys. I told friends of Watcha Boys in New Mexico, and he just went up to a tournament in Kansas City, Kansas, and boy's named Zeke Castro. Hope y'all go look at him. He's you can find him on YouTube. Zeke Castro. He's a lightweight. He's 125 pounder, but this kid's already hitting like a full welterweight. He's a hitter. Uh, he's a hitter and he's fast as hell. But I watch a few of these guys and I see rotten decisions, and I see just from my little perspective, from what I do see, uh, from the people that I do talk to with the younger guys, uh, and most of this is coming from other dads that are trying to move along their sons, but some of it's just coming from people that don't have dads, and that's where I try to step in some capacity if I ever can. Uh, but these guys are already getting grabbed. They're being manipulated by promoters already. And I tell these folks, I say, don't you dare. Don't you do it. They'll send you off to this guy over here. They'll tell you he's the best in the world to coach you, teach you, train you, uh, bring you along, love you, be daddy to you, take care of you, be Superman for you. and they're just running these kids into all hell and back, and it just upsets me so bad. Really, I don't. I've got a few situations I could bring up, but I'm too nervous to because I know they're gonna say, "Oh my God, he said what I told him," and I don't want that to happen. So, but yeah, I agree. I think that the amateur program is killing, and I've been out of the amateur program in the U.S. boxing scholars since 1982 or 84, and I'm getting into the Colombian boxing system here, and yeah, we should. I'd like to know that story. I'd like to know that, but well, yeah, here you got a certain system of trainers, and only these specific guys have a license, and they're holding up the other guys back from getting licensed. And if you go up, what they're in theory supposed to do is welcome you into the system, and then you get a the documentation that you need for your boxers, which here, like one of the things for Boxing USA, you got to go through a few more hoops, and you got to go to the get a doctor's examination and some other things. But here, you just pay a fee, and you've got your amateur guy in to. He's basically licensed to amateur box at the age group that he would be in, and weight group, of course. But uh, here, these guys that are over all these states, you bring a boy in, and he starts flattening everybody, or he's that good, they'll shut the doors to you because they don't want him. They don't want a boy that they themselves have not trained. So they are Latin America. I can't speak for Mexico now, and I know Panama's not this way. I do know that factually. But here in Ecuador, uh, can't speak for Venezuela. Well, yeah, I can speak for Venezuela because uh, our friend Gabriel, who is like a son to me, uh, has been in the professional ranks and just had a fight several months ago and won a semi-professional nationals that they have there. And he's going to be coming back and working with Joe. Uh, but here, a lot of jealousy, a lot of envy, and a lot of selfish, self-serving protection. And for example, I took Joe down to uh, at the Santander Boxing League. That's the name of the state we're in right now. And I took him down there. The guys, I go in the guy's office, and it's a big gym outside, it's an office gym. And we're in there. And, Joe's sitting in there, and he's like, I'm getting tired of hearing you guys talk. He didn't say it like that, but he was giving the hint, I want to go out and hit a bag. So he goes out there and starts pounding bags. Guys stop doing what they're doing that are out there, and just everybody's looking at him. And then the guy's like, oh, yeah, we'll help you. And then trying to run me out of there. And then, call me. I forgot. I got something up, and I'm real busy. Uh, and then I leave, and then he's, call me. We'll get your son in. We'll get your son in. And then he won't take the calls. So then we go over to another gym, and we're talking to a guy, and he's like, no, that guy ain't gonna want your son. He's not gonna want to. Number one, he's not gonna want an American Colombian kid. which Joe has citizenship in both places. He was born in North Carolina, but he has citizenship through his Colombian mama here. And they were number one, he's not going to want that. And number two, he's not going to let nobody come in there and start whizzing, whether if they would even get to the Olympics or the Am Games or whatever, to take that it'll take credit away from him. And I thought, how sick, how cruddy, and how sick. So, but we got off of the subject of the Cleveland Williams thing. I believe it took about everything in the world that Liston had to really to get through the two fights he had with Cleveland Williams. So I don't know. It's very interesting. And people, like you, the boxing scholar, you're always, these styles is what does it, and it does. Yeah, I don't know how much taller he was, but I should go back and look at the stats on the height, but I was thinking he was a little taller. But it would have been, I think that would have been a good, uh, possibly could have been one of the greatest classics that we would all be talking about had that happened in a better time for both of them. You know, that's one of my dream fights. If I could pick three fights that I could see, uh, that probably would be one of the three. Just a prime, totally healthy Ali and a prime, totally healthy Williams. But I was such a Stevenson fan back when I was younger, and I got to meet Teofilo Stevenson in Charlotte. Uh, I was there. I got to meet Jimmy Clark. I got to meet a lot of guys, and boy, that event turned into a disrespectful pile of junk. But of course, we were sitting in there, and while we were sitting in there, it wasn't as bad for us sitting in there than when we watched the tape program, because Howard Cosell even made it way even worse than it was, and it was very bad. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen that too. But I kind of feel that Foreman was just so strong. I don't know. I don't know, but I'd love to see that too. That'd be one of my dream fights as well. And it kind of looks to me like Foreman might not have wanted to see that fight, so that's a good reason to want to see it because now that's conjecture there, but it just sounds to me like Foreman probably didn't want to see that either. So, all right. Yeah, I've seen that too, and I think they said that thing weighed 300 or 400 pounds, or maybe more than that. It was a ridiculous amount of weight, but I saw it back in the day, many years ago, and that was in some boxing magazines that we had uh, as we were growing up. I wasn't a baby boy, but I wasn't a full fledged adult. I was in my teens, and that is insane. And really, that was the first time where we got to. Of course, they did, and there was film of it. But the first time I got to see, uh, and of course, Ali did it before Foreman even did it, and fighters way before then. But the tree chopping, uh, the first time I saw the tree chopping and the actual uh, being a workman to perfect your craft in boxing, I saw with George Foreman. He was out chopping wood, and there now the one I seen was very early, and George Foreman was not on his farm. He was somewhere, I believe, in California, and they were letting him chop wood down because he didn't have two sticks to rub together. They didn't have money. This was real early when an amateur. It's amateur boxing, but of course, years later, as we got to see all these films, and especially with YouTube and all this come along. But before that, because we were able to get a lot of stuff on VCR years ago, but the first time I got to see, and we just thought that was amazing, George Foreman out chopping wood, and it was amazing for me to see. But no, I think Klitschko was really uh, the the younger one, the one that held the unified belts for so long. I think he was a good champion. I mean, how can you not be and not holding on to the belts even if you ain't got nobody to fight? I mean, that's to say something, but I don't think he was one of the greatest. But I look at that more so. I don't mean this to be ugly in any way to us, because we're Americans, but I look at that era more of us declining than I do of European greatness, if that makes any sense. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and I don't want to put the Europeans down in any way, but uh, we we are the deal. Uh, why we are not today is beyond me. I believe our mentality is changing. I believe that America was at its best in the boxing world when the African Americans had to fight and claw for every inch of terrain they got in life. Uh, I think that for all those decades and all those years, that maybe you could say centuries, that those people were fighting and clawing, and wow, I think it produced the strongest people we ever seen in this world. And I I don't think we'll ever see any stronger people. I don't know, I could be wrong. It sure made good character with African Americans. And it's sad that good character of those decades are never looked at. Everybody's looking at bad things, and you look back at Murders Row. Oh my! Could anybody beat one of these guys? Any of them up today? Is there any one of them that could do that? I don't know. I'm just saying it could be questioned, right? See, uh, I just, I'm an old man. I guess everybody does see their generation as better. Of course, those guys were before me, but I don't see nobody holding a stick to them. None of them. I think the worst of them would be the best of us today. And you got guys that uh, fought 45 times in a year, more than that, 300 fights, grab fighting with one eye, uh, the shit that uh, the black fighters had to go through to even get shots, and fighting and clawing through what they did is just remarkable. remarkable. That will, just in my opinion, there will never be stronger generations of man come ever. Not just in boxing, in general, in life in general, to me. So, all right, I'm gonna hop off here. Uh, we did good. We got a few folks on here. Thank you, Boxing Scholar. You know, Joe and I love you, bro. We love you, and we thank you for all the stuff you do for us and things that you put out that we're able to see. Again, everybody, whether if you're here or if you're watch this later, go check out the Boxing Scholar. Give him a subscribe because you'll be happy you did. You get to see a lot of these fights. He'll call them for you if you can't get them on the computer or the tube. And there's no better place to go hear about that. And these fight breakdowns, you ain't gonna find nothing better. Uh, I ain't all knowing, folks, but at all by no means. But uh, as far as what I've seen, nobody breaks these fights down like the Boxing Scholar. He's the best in the business at breaking this stuff down. And and I mean it. If Joe stays in this and he makes it big, I'm gonna be dead his doorstep, down on my knees, saying, "Come with Joe, go with Joe, please. We'll make it happen." So, it's a lot of confidence I have in that man. He's a smart one. So, salute to everybody. Godspeed to you. Much love to everybody, and we will see you all later. Thank you so much for watching this.